ACTSX.
Yeah.
Zero taking that's the how you get rid of class 6.
Oh, okay, so you.
What is it? ACTTX?
Qualifier, one of those.
CGRWX, right? Whiskey is X-ray. This one
Yeah.
has a higher dividend than the ACTX. There's a reason why we use ACSTX. Look down and see how many times you see Kenny Carmen.
He says you get, because they're looking for tax breaks.
Yeah.
And he says you go get a whole life, you pay $1 million for a whole life policy, and then turn around, borrow that money, okay, and then go buy crypto with it.
Yeah.
But
In the first place, chances are, when you put that $1 million in your whole life policy, they're not going to let you borrow 2 or 3 years.
You ain't gonna cash it.
Yeah.
Probably right. Yeah.
right, but
But it's tax-free money that you get to invest.
right.
And write it off on your taxes.
Personally, it sounds good.
It does.
But yeah, in Peachtree City, a lot of the Delta counties that come across would buy these huge Western Reserve Life or Capital Variable Universal Life policies that would have each one, and they'd have $1 million policies, and they would do what's called a wash. What you're describing is known as a wash loan, and you're borrowing the money, the cash value from the policy, and you're right, you can take it out. You're actually making a withdrawal. You don't pay taxes on the money until that thing exhausts itself, until you take all the cash value. But what could happen is the taxes can't come due. If you did make money behind the scenes, let's say you put it in a variable life policy and you put $1 million in there, and over the course of time you pull out $1,200,000 because it makes money on the investment side. When the policy lapses, that $200,000 is then taxable. So you don't pay it while it's in force. You pay it after the policy ceases to exist.
Well, he's been having people, and I've had people, we've all probably had people that call you and say, hey, do you invest in stocks? Do you get into crypto? And all that kind of stuff. And one of the things I used to do stocks, and I don't do it anymore. I just do money mutual funds and be happy with it. This was less stress. But what I tell people, the rule is, if you have your emergency fund fully funded, if you have your debt paid down, and you have your retirement funded, your HSA funded, and then you have money left over, then go out and invest in stuff that you see that can make it. Go play all you want when you go over to take care of all the other things. Then you go to, exactly. But make sure you got all these things, the house built, before you go claim. There's
Okay, so this is a visual on how either universal life works, which is also known as is also known
universal life.
Universal life is also known as simple preschool life, as they call it. Flexible premium, flexible premium adjustable life. It was also known as universal life. Snake Farm was a huge seller of it at one point. I don't know if they still sell it or not.
Yeah, we rename these things, X not remember.
Well, I want to disclaimer, Brian, before you get too far into this, that she's studying for her life now.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff we're talking about goes against what you're studying.
Right, they're going to tell you it's good.
They're going to tell you it's good, and we're going to show you it's bad. I don't want you to get confused.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
In other words, on the actual fact.
All life insurance, every kind of insurance that exists, is term insurance.
Yes.
Whole life policies, universal life, variable life, they're all personal.
Okay.
Here's how it happens. There's companies, large companies called reinsurers. Okay, they basically sell life insurance in wholesale form. Okay, so an insurance company will buy the risk from a reinsurer. Okay, they buy the risk and they'll say, okay, all 35-year-olds, the cost per thousand is this. And they'll say, the reinsurer will sell a third policy, maybe at $1 per thousand. Okay? But then State Farm or Equitable or somebody else will buy it, and they'll buy it as a whole life policy, and they'll charge $10 per thousand. Even though they bought it 50 cents per thousand as well. Okay, so reinsurers basically do have actuaries. And, actuaries are the people that I always said my son would be a good actuary. I try to get him to an actuary. Actuary's job is to say, out of all the 35-year-olds in the United States, if you take all the 35-year-olds in the United States, how long are they going to live?
Okay.
What percent will die at 36, 37, 38, 39, all the way up to 120?
Okay. So trying to do a mortality rate.
And they can figure out of 10,000 35-year-olds, 4 will die at 36. And I'll tell you, they have every number for every amount of people that pass away in a certain period. Okay. So that once they have that number, they can come up with what it costs, right?
Mm-hmm.
What the risk of having to pay the policy is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how so the reinsurer says, okay, we're going to hire all these actuaries to come up with these numbers, and we'll sell you this risk for 50 cents per thousand.
Okay.
And then they turn around and market, and every insurer turns around and marks it up and makes their own product out of it and sells it as a 20-year term, 25-year term, whatever. Okay, well, but one of the types of prices a lot of these insurance companies sell is called universal life. Okay, the way universal life came about is when Art Williams, which is now from America, started selling buy-term domestic difference like that, and was becoming successful at it. The insurance companies didn't have an answer for it because up to that point, they're all selling straight whole life. Okay, whole life had a very high cost per thousand because they insured you from whatever age you started, 35 to 100, and they guaranteed your premium stay the same from 35 to 100. The problem, so what they do, how they come up with that number, is they ask how many of 1,000 35-year-olds make it paid to 100? Very small number, right? But you are paying for that 8 to 100 risk, and the average cost is, we know 1 out of 1, or pretty close to 1 out of 1 at 100 is gone, right? So the cost is 100%, where at 35 is 30%, right? So you're paying for that whole 70 years, 65 years. Average cost, instead of being $1 per thousand, is probably $5 per thousand, but you're paying the $5 per thousand the whole 65 years.
Almost 65 years, okay.
Yeah, that's what, they take the average cost of the risk of dying, but you're paying, that's why in the early years, your cash value, you get more cash value policy because the risk of you dying is way less.
Right.
So you're paying $100 a month when it should be $30. Okay, so $70 a month is going to the cash value fund. That's on a whole life policy. So, and they sold you an idea back in the day that you would do cash value, you'd buy a $100,000 policy, and you build this cash value. In 20 years, you'd have $50,000 in the policy or $25,000 in the policy. So, and they made it sound as if you get both the $100,000 for the life insurance and the $25,000 cash value. But the reality is, if you wanted the $25,000, you had to borrow the money out or withdraw it. And if you borrowed it out, they would subtract that from the $100,000 coverage. So if you had a $100,000 policy, you had $25,000 cash value, and you borrowed $25,000 out when you died, the family would only get $75,000.
Right, because you take the 25 out a lot.
Right, but they would charge you 6 to 8% interest on the $25,000 you took out.
Right.
That interest also would come off the face value of the policy.
The interest as well?
Oh yeah. So let's say you borrowed $25,000 from a $100,000 policy, and now the interest is accrued to $50,000. And you have a $100,000 policy, and you die, the family only gets the $50,000. Withdraw. But even let's say they never draw any money out. Let's say they pay, and they have $100,000 policy and they die. A lot of people say they get the 125. They don't. They get the 100. The insurance company keeps the 25. So you bought a $100,000 policy, you had 25,000 cash value, and you die. Your family gets 100,000, right? Well, really, the insurance company only had to go with 75 because they took your 25 and gave it back to your family. So the risk is 25% less than what it started out to be. So you're slowly paying for your risk. See, if your company matches you, let's say you put in 3%, and they also put in 3%, the match your 3%, then the company gets that 3% they're matching is a deduction for them. But the reason they're also matching your 3% is the highly compensated employees, the president, and all the people that make. Let's say you have a company. Let's use us as a company. No, wait, here locally,
You're the big dogs and we're the little people.
Yeah, you're the high compensated.
Okay, so yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so let's say I make $450,000 a year, and all of y'all make $50,000. Okay, and I have a 401k, and if I want to participate in the 401k, I can't, because if I put 10% of my money in the 401k, and everyone in here puts 10% of their money in the 401k, my percentage is nearly as much as y'all's percentage. So that plan then becomes top heavy. Okay, and the IRS will not allow you to have such a high percentage of the money go into the 401k from one person.
Okay.
So that any person that would make it top heavy is called a highly compensated employee. Highly compensated employee. ACE. Yeah. I currently am handling a simple IRA for a company in Hilton Head, South Carolina. They're landscape architects. And I was talking to the owner yesterday. He's been a client of mine since 1993 or 4. So he's been a client of mine ever since he graduated from college. And now he makes great money. Anyway, so I said, who else other than you makes as much as you do? He said, just one other guy, Keeper, which they're both my clients. He said, we both make, a lot, and then everybody else makes a lot less. And he said, I think I'm going to stop putting money in my simple IRA because they're limited. Simple, the most you can put into simple, even if you're 50, with $60,000, $70,000, something like that, it's not that much. Where if you have a 401k and you're over 50, you can put in nearly $30,000. So he said, my account's been telling me I need to get a 401k instead of a simple. I said, yeah, you can, but let me tell you, you run into some problem with that as well. Because if we open up a 401k for you, now you're going to have to file what's called 5500s. Okay, 5500s is what you can file with the IRS. And one of the parts of that is to show how much of the money is coming from the highly compensated employees and how much money comes from everybody else in the plant. If that percent is too high, then you have to have what's called a safe harbor 401k. Safe harbor 401k says across the board, every participant gets 3%. But I think the way it works is even if you don't put any money in there and you're a participant, you get the 3%. I think that's the way it works. So then everybody will be a participant, right? Because they don't have to put any money in, they still get 3%.
Right.
So I said you got to be aware that everybody's going to be you're going to give 3% across the board to everybody. And so you just got to yourself and already the majority of the people are participants in the simple. So that's one of the things. There's a calculation of when you need what amount of money a person can put in the 401k without making it top heavy. And I can't remember the calculation off the top of my head. So one of the things I suggested you do, I said instead of getting a 401k, we might look at getting a cross-tested, age-weighted profit sharing plan. The highest percentage of the money would go to the most highly compensated and the oldest. So there's a formula that comes up when a certain percent would go down, everybody in this room. And since I was highly compensated, I get the highest percentage of the money. Okay? And you put a 5-year vesting schedule in it. So let's say they put $70,000 and they get 5,000, 6,000, and I get 10,000. Okay, and we only had a plan for a year. You've been here with me for less than a year, and I gave you $6,000 of profit share, and you quit. Well, that 6,000 gets rolled back in, and the highest percentage of the money that you had goes back to me, even though I gave it to you.
Okay.
That's called cross-tested eighth-weighted profit share. With the vest 5 and 7 year.
Well, that's just for the first year that.
In that first year. So normally, yeah. So the way most vesting schedules work is if you're here 0 to 1 year, you get less than 1 year. You leave, and I gave you let's say $5,000, and you left. Then the whole 5,000 go back to the plan.
Okay.
After a year, you get 20% of you get to take 20%.
Okay.
And then 40, then 60, then 80, then 100%.
Okay, so you will.
So after the 5th year or 6th year, you're able to leave, and if you did leave, you take the whole 5,000, which is left whatever.
Okay, right, cool, okay.
That's when you're vested.
Okay, cool, okay.
You fully vested. That's why you must 401k
Yeah,
work.
you hear that term for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Right, about the whole thing.
But the profit sharing, but the way it works is if you have typically the owner is the oldest guy, not always, but he is definitely the highest compensated. So he's normally one of the older people in the company and one of the highest compensated. So that person tends to get the highest percent of the money back if somebody leaves.
There was something on, came across Facebook, this guy will send you a book, a 26-page book on how he made $1 million in 90 days. All you have to do is send, I think it was $10. No, it's $10. So a friend of mine sent it. He said, you know what, I'm gonna find out about this. And sure enough, come back a couple of days, he got this envelope with this book in it, and it's self-printed. And there's a word on each page. You get people to send $10. He didn't promise anything. He didn't say anything other than I will tell you how we made X amount in 60 or 90 days. And darn if they didn't have somebody else on the news, and this was on Fox or something like that, and he said, this is what I did. And he said, everybody out there in America will send you a check for a certain amount and never question. Unfortunately, this ain't the case.
No. There's also a guy that was skimming, was a good guy, and banks doing transactions routinely, and he was skimming 1/10 of a cent off every transaction that happened, and he would work millions and millions of dollars, and they finally caught him. So you can set up a 401k where you were asking how they make money. The company gets a tax deduction for anything they make. So even though I took the tax deduction by giving you this money, this profit sharing, and you leave, I get to get the money back. So I took the tax deduction and
get the money back.
How that? You got to realize you're paying nearly nothing to have a simple with me. The administrative costs are $20 per year per employee, and the employees are paying $9. Okay, so you're not paying anything to have it. Okay, if we go to a 401k, there's a number of different ways we can do a 401k. Now, Equitable, the way they would do a 401k is they would have inside the 401k fees. So it looks like the employer is not paying anything for the 401k. Well, they're not, because all the employees are over in holding costs with all the fees. But they also tend to not be very good 401ks. They have higher fees, so your return is lower. So I said we can do it like that. I can do a 401k that appears to have low fees, well have higher internal fees but lower return. Or you can stick with what you have with me, like investor funds. I can do a 401k, but then you can pay higher fees, probably $3,500, $5,000 a year to have a 401k, administrative costs. So if it's worth paying $3,000 to $5,000, $6,000 a year in administrative costs, then yeah, we can do a 401k. We had RVP and Tommy Gunn. So if you take the RVP, you made $100,000, soon as $100 about a brand new company.
Long
No longer in business.
Art says, you're always one day away from a disaster.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah, you hear a lot of that, yeah,
Because it's gonna happen.
yeah.
They want to buy a universal life policy. IUL, what that stands for is an index universal life.
Index, Russell White, okay.
That's what IUL stands for. But there's another just plain universal life, whatever. Okay, so let's say you buy a universal life policy. You draw a picture of a pipe, this is my bucket, and there's, okay, you got money going into the pipeline, right? And let's say the monthly cost is $100. So here's how it works. So you pay your $100, you draw this out. Most people are visual learners, they're not auditory learners. So I've learned over the years that if you draw it out on a piece of paper like this, that you really get their attention, and they actually learn from it. Okay. So let's say the agent talks you to buy $100 a month, $100,000 universal life policy.
Okay.
So you put your $100 a month, you put your $100 in. A little bit comes out for fees, for a policy fee and other fees, but the majority of the $100 makes it in your bucket.
Okay.
Of the $100, let's say 90 of it makes it to the bucket a month.
Okay.
Okay. So you keep doing this, but so your $90 makes the bucket, but then they have a little dipper here, and they dip out to pay for the mortality cost for the risk if you die.
Okay.
Okay. So at first, when you're in your 30s, the dipper is really small, right?
Okay.
But you still, so more of your money, more of the $90 stays in the bucket.
Okay. In the younger years. Okay.
Okay. But now, let's say over the years, let's say you're 10 years older. Well, now the dipper is a little bigger. And then 10 years after that, and 10 years after that.
Keeps getting bigger and bigger.
No,
I'm different than that.
yeah. So what happens is, at first, when you put money in here, majority of the money is sitting in here in this bucket. And this bucket is earning, they tell you, you're making a 6% interest rate on the money that stays in the bucket. Okay, so you're making 6% of the money, they're dipping it out, but what happens is, as you get older, the dipper gets larger and larger. Eventually, the dipper is dipping out more than the $90 that stays in the bucket. So what happens is, over time, the level of the bucket starts going down.
Getting smaller. Okay. More
Now,
out.
right, if the bucket is empty, runs out of money, then you have no policy and no life insurance. You have and no insurance, no safeties. So all your savings is gone, and all your insurance is gone.
Okay.
And about a year before this happens, the insurance company will send you a letter, and by this time, you're in your 70s, you've had some kind of health issue, okay, and they're going to send you a letter saying now your premium for the same policy is $250 a month. And so now you feel like you have no choice but to pay the $250.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking, hey, I've been paying for this thing for all these years, I can't let it go away now. But that's what they did.
Wow.
They sell it to you on flex premiums. You don't have to make a payment every month. As long as there's money in the bucket, they can dip
Well,
it
that's a
out.
whole different policy though, that allows you to go.
Well, that's what universal,
Yeah, it's still the same thing.
yeah, what universal does. As long as there's money in that bucket, you can just pay it, big deal. You can put more, you can put less, then you can kind of target.
Yeah. In fact, the agent should come to your house and sell you a $100,000 policy for $100 a month, or for $50 a month. Let's say he wants to sell you this policy, and you say, well, I can't afford $100 a month. It's no problem. We'll make it $75. Okay, so you pay. Okay, I can afford that. Well, all that means is that the amount of time that the money in the bucket's going to last me less.
Yeah,
You
because
get
you're not
to
putting
buy
what
stuff
you
like
put
money
in.
going to get you.
When I first started and I saw some of these policies, they actually have a page in the policy where it told you the date who will run that money.
Yeah, I tell you the month and year.
They don't put that table in the policy anymore,
No.
but they used to.
They used to
Used
tell
to
you.
show it to the.
Yeah, no one ever uses the policy anyway.
Yeah.
No, the stashing way.
I always tell my clients that you had a choice between watching the Wheel of Fortune or reading a life insurance policy. We did it right. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's still weird. I think she's in her seventies, she's still.
Yeah, she's from Georgia.
Yes, well, no, I thought she was from Myrtle Beach. Georgia, she's a Georgia girl. No, Georgia girl. Her parents used to live in Fayette County.
She also nearly didn't get the job.
Oh,
There's some pictures that came out.
oh, yeah. I think that is.
No, the insurance company says that they're gonna give you 6%. Yeah. That's because they're taking that money and
If I say that, not one.
okay? But if you have a down couple of years like we had, in the past, all of a sudden, they're not paying, you're not keeping up with that 6%, you're losing 12%.
Yeah.
So your bucket gets drained a heck of a lot faster.
What are you talking about?
The money in the bucket for 6% is being invested.
Well,
Oh, yeah, okay, so now, okay, now you're hitting on something else. So what I just described here is a universal life policy. But he's talking about the same client, if the agent has a securities license or a variable annuities license, the same agent can sell this client, instead of selling this client a universal life, can sell this client a variable universal life. Okay, and what that is, you're investing in mutual funds in the life insurance. So now you're not making, where's my little ratio? Now you're not making 6% of the bucket. He's gonna tell you that you can make 12%.
Okay.
Okay.
yeah, now we can't illustrate 12%.
Okay, so, now, and you got, right, so let's say it is a mutual fund that has average 12%. Okay. Well, sure enough, it makes 12%. But now, first of all, it might gross 12% of this policy, but the fees inside of this policy are so high that even after the fees, you're really making that 9.
Okay.
Okay. But on top of that, let's say we have a year like 2018, where instead of making 12%, you did a minus 18%. Okay. Well, they're still dipping money out of this policy to pay the insurance company. So now it dropped by 18%, the value did in this bucket, but they still drew the money out. What does that happen? It makes this bucket run out of money faster.
Faster, I see, it's got.
Yeah, so the insured bears all the risk of these policies. This is how a universal life policy works, or barely universal life policy works. Index universal, the only difference between that and a variable universal is it doesn't spell love. It's a Louis.
Yeah.
Louis backwards. Like index annuity or index life insurance policy. You know you're fixing it screwed. So here's how an index annuity works. So they say on the great thing about an index annuity or an index life is you can make the same returns. You can have guaranteed higher returns. Okay, so I can guarantee you instead of a 12% return in your Louis, I'm going to guarantee you 8. Okay, so you can go, and that sounds good, doesn't it? If I can give you a guaranteed 8%.
Sure, it isn't guaranteed.
Okay, so what it does though is like, let's say last year, the average equity fund made 20%, and you had this. How much money would you make?
You lose probably 10. Yeah.
You have a cap. You can't make more than 8, no matter what happens. Okay, but you can't make more than 8. So let's say that did minus 18% 1 year. You still get 5. Okay.
Yeah.
But how often does it do that? Not very often.
Now,
Okay.
yeah.
Matter of fact, 67% of the time the market is up, not down. Okay. And so it's to be very rare that they're going to have to absorb this, but they can easily absorb this because they know on the high side they're going to get the difference. This is the most popular form of investing.
And the lower the floor, the
higher.
higher.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's right. So maybe on a 10% floor, you can make as much as 12%. On a 20% floor, you can make it maybe as 10%. And 30% floor, you make like 9% or 8%. So you have a top as well as a bottom.
You must not touch this money.
Yeah, you can't touch it for 5 years. I was telling them, this, if let's say I'm going to use for the average is 12%.
Okay.
In a just regular mutual fund. That same mutual fund makes 12%, and that annuity only makes 10.
At best.
So you're losing 2% of your return to get a 5% guarantee.
Wow.
Okay, now, for some clients, they'll take that bet all day long.
Absolutely.
So I have some clients that say, you mean I'll make 5, you know, I'll lose 2% on the top end? I said, that's a bad deal. Don't take it. But they'll take it. Some will take it anyway. And that's fine. So it's still better. No, it's still better than putting in a CD.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tricky part of that is the 5% they guaranteed is not in the account back.
It's in
It's in
withdrawal.
what they can withdraw on the other end.
Okay.
which is fine. Because
As long as they don't.
yeah, because I have clients, example, that, you know, so what that means is, let's say the account value, let's say at first, they put $100,000 in the account, and it has a 5% guarantee, and the market drops, and now this account is worth $90,000, but the account value, the withdrawal account value would be $105,000. Now the one I really so if they were to start drawing a monthly check, they wouldn't draw it off the 90, they draw it off 105.
Okay.
So that's the good news. But reality is that over time, this 100, if it was over here in this mutual fund, would be worth way more money than it's in the annuity. Okay? But for some people, when I come across people that have a lot of money, like CDs, that's all they've ever had is a CD. And they have to have something they want. And the only reason people put money in CDs is that they know they can't lose their principal. Right? Okay, the bad news is I give them all the bad news on the front end. And I tell them on the front end, I would not put my money in this. If you're not going to take out the CDs, then this is better than CDs. And that's how these these index annuities work, is you have a protection, but you have a cap, you can't make. But like I said, I use a variable annuity that you can make as much money as you want, and it'll make 20% or 30%, and you can pick individual investments and stuff. That's the good news. But it's still more expensive to own. It's not liquid. Like if a client puts $100,000 in a mutual fund with me, right? And the next day they want to take the $100,000 out, I mean, to a checking account, right?
Okay.
In an annuity, you have what's called a surrender schedule. And most of them have 7 to 8 years. Yeah. 7 to 8 years surrender fee schedule. So the first year you decide you want to take your $100,000 out, they're going to hit you at 8%.
Okay.
Then 7, then 6, then 5, then 4, then 3, then 2.
Within that time frame, those 7 to 8 years. Okay.
So it goes down every year by 1%. And after the 8th year, it goes to 0. And so if you took all your money out, you get it all without a surrender charge.
Okay.
You're going to come across these kind of things all the time. But the number one, when you come across a life insurance policy, when you come across an annuity, when you come across a 401k statement, any kind of statement, always say, let me take this with me. I want to read this.
Okay.
How I got good at all these things is anytime I sit down with a client and they had something jacked up like this, I'd have them give it to me. And I said, let me borrow for about a week. Let me read this thing. I'm going to go through it with a pencil. And I'm going to underline how this thing really works. And I would read them all. I read them all. And so you really get to learn a lot. And then I'd go back and I'd say, read this line right here.
Okay.
Read this line right here. And because the saying is big print given, the small print take it away. First thing you say when you see something jacked up like this, who sold this to you? Because it might have been a relative. What would you do if you found out this was not as good as you thought it was? Would that cause any rift in your family if you decide not to keep this? The next thing I got to cover is he's going to come back and say, if I knew you wanted term insurance, could have sold return policy. My question is, why didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, here's why. Because he made way more money by selling you something else than say return insurance. He doesn't really want to say return policy. So don't give bare quotes.
Okay, got that.
Okay. Don't give anything over the phone.
Never over the phone, yeah.
Always do everything face to face. When you sit face to face with somebody, number one, you have interaction, but you can read their facial expressions, you can hear the body language, you can hear voice tones, you can see things, you're reading things with them. Much easier to do visible. It's like you're singing a song. It's basically what you're doing.
It's a performance.
And you're singing a song, and you're listening to the tones. I produce a certain tone, and I'm listening to the tone coming back to me to know where I am. Okay. If I'm the agent, I never had a husband or wife sitting like this, ever. So if I sat here, well, let's say this is the husband, this is the wife, okay? Well, let's say I'm only facing him.
Okay.
He goes through the door.
Even that, she could.
Right?
Yeah,
And I can't see what her visuals are coming up.
Oh,
If I'm sitting here looking at her all the time, now he's getting upset.
He's mad.
He's mad at what am I? Right?
oh, okay.
So when I walk into the house, first of all, if the TV's on, I ask them to turn it off.
Right.
Okay. A lot of times it's blaring. Okay. So it's on, and I also pay attention when I walk in the house. Let's say I walk in the house like this, and I look at what's on the walls. I don't see one human face on anything. Okay. So that tells me that these people are analyzers. Okay. If I see maps and stuff that doesn't have faces on it, these people are analyzers. Okay. He's an electrician, an engineer, something like that. Okay. So their biggest fear is being duped. They read all the small print. And their biggest thing is they won't make a decision. They hate making decisions because they're afraid they're making a bad decision. Here's how I've learned too many years to get good at working with analyzers. Is if I walk in a house and there's no human faces on the wall, I'll say that when I get down, typically I do one appointment where I gather their information.
Okay.
Go back, and before I leave the first one, I'll say, if I can put a plan together, and every way is better than the plan you have now, will you do business with me? Right?
Okay.
If they say yes, now yeah, or I'll look at it, yes, I'll do business with you, Eric. Great. So I take their information, I come back to the office, I put a plan together, I set the appointment before I leave the first appointment. I say, I'll be back in 1 week.
Okay.
Same day, because most people live cycle lives. I was here Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Take me what, the next Wednesday at 7 o'clock.
Right.
So next Wednesday at 7 o'clock, I come back, I have the plan, I go over it with them. They told me exactly what people wanted. I give them exactly what they wanted, and they do business with me, right? Not that's everybody but the analyzers. Okay. Analyzers, what I do is when I get them on my first appointment, I leave them as much information. I said, I want you to write down every question you can think of. Okay. Then when I come back the second time with the plan, I tell them I want you to go through my plan and write down everything that you're not sure about.
Okay.
And I go ahead and set the third appointment. They go back the next Wednesday to answer all the questions.
Okay.
And generally I'll do business with them on the third one.
Okay.
So they are hard for me to do business with. Everyone else, okay, let's say I walk in a household and I see a lot of families. We'll have one wall that's nothing but family, every family member they have. Okay, those people are belongers.
Okay.
Okay, so they're all about family. They will make decisions purely about family.
Okay.
They're very patriotic people. When I talk to them, it's not I'm going to help them. I'm helping them, but also I'm helping their family.
Okay. More family oriented.
More about family.
Okay.
If you're hitting on a family, taking care of the family, that's going to help your family. And guess what? They like it.
Okay.
Okay. But also when I walk in the house, I always, now let's do this again. He's the agent. I'm going to sit here where he's sitting.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you, how would you,
Yeah.
husband
And
and wife?
husband and wife here, because now he can see us both
He's looking at both of them,
at the
okay,
same time.
okay,
Yeah, and we can see him. When you first become an agent, you don't want to, you think if you tell people to do stuff, you'll make them mad. Reality is, their finances are screwed up. know they need help. They want you to help them. They're looking for a leader. They can't lead their own finances. They need you to lead them.
Okay.
So when you come in and start giving instructions, you're the leader. They need you more than you need them.
That's the truth. That is God's honest truth. Nick Buckner's no longer with us. He said some of the best teaching on appointment setting and on recruiting. And he keeps stressing, this is like a job. You're not doing me a favor. I'm doing you the biggest favor in the world.
But, so when you see them, you are in charge. You take leadership role.
Yeah.
When I sit down with the wife, and I kind of take the leadership role, the wife would really appreciate that. That, hey, we need somebody that's going to have a better understanding of our finances and really appreciate that. So generally, I get the wife to be happier, but be quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And if the wife's happy, everybody's happy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Mine's not-
Happy wife, happy life. So if I made her happy, that she could put influence on him to get him to do it. I'm an enterpriser, okay? Here's how you know when you're doing business with an enterprise. You go to do the presentation, you go to talk, explain things to them, and they'll say, I got it. That means you need to go on the next thing. Okay, they're actually, I only need 60% of the information to make a decision. Okay, I don't need all of it. He needs all of it. He's an analyzer. He needs all of it. Once he says he has it, go on to the next thing. Enterprisers are, and generally they're business owners, things like that. They generally, I'm a classic enterpriser. Like me and Stacey, I'm an enterpriser. She's an analyst. Let's say I'm on a appointment like that.
Okay.
And that happens a lot. Where one of them gets it, the other one doesn't get it yet. Okay? Then I team up side by side. I know you understand all this, but I want to make sure she follows everything and go over.
Okay.
Okay? So I'm pointing him in and say, I know you get this.
Oh, okay.
But we're still, because here's the point I like to make too. If one of them passes away, the other one, here's another thing enterprises will do sometimes.
Okay.
They'll say, well, the husband will say, I'll handle it all. She doesn't even know all this. And the first thing I'll throw back at him is, well, what if something happens to you? Then what should you do?
Yeah.
She needs to know, even though she doesn't hear anything about this, she at least needs to know how this stuff works.
Mm-hmm.
But we also need to know she needs to have at least some information about this. Togetherness, and what's the
Togetherness.
motivators.
Motivators. Okay.
Yeah. There's people, everyone's having fun, we're always happy people.
Happy go lucky.
Yeah, as long as we all get together, we're happy. The other ones having parties, they're biggest thing, they don't want you to be unhappy.
Okay.
So they'll try to please you
Okay.
as the advisor. See, analyzers are the toughest ones to get.
Yeah, so.
But once you get one,
They're loyal.
and because everybody else knows that they're analyzers, and they say, "Wow, nobody gets all Mike. If Mike Lucas did this with you, you must be good." Okay, so then you get more referrals. See, the referrals Mike sends me, or the bunch.
Oh.
Now, let's say I walk the house, and there's a bunch of trophies sitting up on the mantle. I'm gonna walk over and look at those trophies. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to look at them and see who won all the trophy. And I'm going to say something.
Oh, okay.
Wow, who's winning all these trophies?
Okay.
And then they're going to immediately tell you the story. And you want to hear them out. Okay. Or let's say I went in one house, a number of houses, all kinds of dead animals on the walls. Turkeys, and deers, and antelope. They're fearful of you when you first walk in.
Okay.
So one of the things that'll help them reduce, your number one objective is to lower the fear.
Okay, good.
So as they start telling you stuff about themselves, then they start relaxing.
Relax a little bit.
Yeah, they start relaxing.
Okay.
The other thing is, let's say you're sitting there with a husband and wife, and one holds their hand, each other's hands, or they do touch each other or something like that. You know, they're showing affection for each other because they feel comfortable.
Hoffman's book, How to Master the Art of Selling, is the best. Hoffman calls it sales resistance.
Sales resistance.
Sales resistance. When you come in, the sales resistance is 100.
Yeah, they go down.
How to master the art of selling. And he's just revised it in the last year. Great book.
Yeah, basis of everything I did.
Sales consistency is 100% when you get in, and it does not drop. You have to gradually.
Everything, listen to the tone they're talking to you at, listen to the way you talk to them. I do what's called mirroring. Whatever pace they talk, if they talk fast, I talk fast, talk slow, I talk slow. All these things help